A completely new era for Los Blancos. Toni Kroos out, Kylian Mbappe in. But one thing that remained the same is Real Madrid win another final. Last season, Atalanta beat the team that looked invincible to end up in the Super Cup. But Madrid used Atalanta's own strengths against them, as Ancelotti showed his underrated tactical prowess. So let's take a look at Real Madrid's new setup and how they're integrating Kylian Mbappe. In the Europa League final, Atalanta were lined up in a 5-2-3 that allowed them to go completely man-to-man to the Leverkusen shape. But of course, Madrid use a 4-3-3, so Atalanta tweaked their shape, with Pasalic being withdrawn to allow the man-to-man orientation. What was fascinating though, is that Real Madrid were willing to be extremely direct, with Thibaut Courtois looking to hit any of the front three, who would challenge for the ball aerially, but were primarily looking to be a nuisance who could potentially win a second ball, or find a third man runner, with Bellingham from the midfield being willing to burst along to try and take advantage of the space behind the high Atalanta line. But this was difficult against a back five, as Atalanta often had an extra defender who could get back just in time. And this is where we saw Ancelotti perhaps have a heavier tactical hand than usual, as he looked to take advantage of the Atalanta defensive shape. The Italians had set up to press a back four man-to-man across the pitch, so Madrid instead used a back three that could cause Atalanta danger in different ways depending on where they were on the pitch. When deep, Courtois pushed up aggressively, and rather than simply split the centre-backs, we saw one or even both centre-backs at times push up into the midfield, with the full-backs now coming deep to complete the three. The goal here was to force the Atalanta wing-backs, who were man-to-man with the full-backs, higher and higher up the pitch, creating even bigger isolations and true 1v1s, potentially making the long balls from the deeper regions even more effective. It also presented the opportunity for a winger to drop wide into that space that was created, either forcing a midfielder out across to cover to give Madrid the advantage in the centre where they already had an extra man, or drag the centre-back way out of position. We see that perfectly here as Carvajal and Mendy flank Courtois. Initially, Atalanta cope well, with De Ketelaere covering Mendy and Zappacosta on Rudiger so that the wingback isn't dragged way out of position. Realizing this, Rudiger moves even more central, dragging De Ketelaere with him, forcing Zappacosta out and creating space for Vinicius to potentially receive. We saw Madrid's longer play pay off for the second goal, when Courtois went long, and Rodrigo was able to win the second ball off Hian and then feed Rodrigo. And as we saw throughout the match, Madrid got plenty of men into the box, and this leads to the Mbappe goal. But in open play, it was a different type of back three that was meant to break the game open through the centre rather than the wide areas. This was through Tchouaméni dropping between the centre-back, and Gasperini's need for defensive control through man-to-man orientations meant Pasalic would look to stay touch-tight to the midfielder, meaning they now only had a two here. These man-to-man situations worked against Leverkusen, but not Madrid for one reason: individual quality. All of Madrid's front three were willing to take turns dropping deep, and the centre-backs would follow. And all three of these men not only had the movement and trickery to get past a centre-back once they got them out of position, but they could also simply use their pace to get past them in the 1v1 and open up the pitch higher up. This is even before mentioning the possibility of simply playing a pass into a fallow speedster into the gaps created higher up the pitch. And as the season progresses, no doubt this will bring Madrid a lot of joy. Valverde could use his pure athleticism to get past his midfield man, while Bellingham could dribble past his, meaning there were 5 potentially dangerous 1v1s for Atalanta on the pitch, as we see here with Bellingham receiving in the midfield, drawing De Roon in before drifting away. Mbappe is dragging his man wide and Rodrigo is doing the same, while Vinicius is drawing his deep. This opens up a chasm in the backline, and the bobble is the only thing that prevents Vinicius from finishing. But it was not a perfect ploy by any means, as it was incredibly high risk, as when an attacker was deeper and lost the ball, Madrid, with their high line, were there for the taking on the break. The game was filled with promising signs for Madrid high up the pitch as well, with the front three generally being fluid, but usually operating in close proximity, with Bellingham and Valverde joining in with late runs. the opposing movement's deep, and combination play will continue to be a threat, but I want to hear in the comments below how you see Madrid faring this season, and how you think they'll end up lining up tactically. If you are a Madrid fan, hit subscribe, as I have a couple of epic videos coming up about Madrid. And in the meantime, you can enjoy this one, looking at Jose Mourinho's Madrid spell.